You're live.
All right, welcome in and a very happy Saturday to you. A Masters Saturday here as we've got hopefully not a blowout when it comes to Augusta, Georgia, but we shall see. We've also got plenty of Major League Baseball action, the end of the NHL regular season. Will the Flyers get it done? Will the Boston Bruins get it done? We'll have you covered there. Andrew McInnis on his way. He'll, of course, stop by, give you all the latest in the NHL and what you need to know about the slate today. Thank God no more horrific basketball to watch in the regular season today, but we are going to be tortured having to watch one more NBA game from a whole lot of bad teams here in the association. So a lot going on here across the board. I'm Joe Ranieri, back in the saddle again for WagerTalk Last Call. We got Gianni coming up. VR will be here. We've got all sorts of fun stuff there. Andy had a bit of a family emergency to attend to, so I parachuted in here, guys, to hang out with you on this Saturday. And, of course, it all starts with the Masters, though, doesn't it? As Andy would tell you, it's the Rory show, and everyone else is just showing up there and having a good time. But I can tell you this, I don't expect the course to be as forgiving today as it was yesterday. If you guys don't know, yeah, they were all bitching and moaning on the back nine there on Thursday about how the greens were too fast and they were worried that they'd become unplayable. So, well, yesterday you saw what happens when they overwater the greens, and all of a sudden now we got guys shooting well under par across the board. And one of those guys, of course, was Rory, and that's a bit of a problem here for everyone else with a 6-shot lead now heading into moving day on Saturday. Pretty disappointed with Scottie Scheffler, the world's number one. Thought he'd have a better showing, but hey, listen, he's not out of it yet. Rory has been known, outside of last year, let's not forget, Rory has been known to come back to the field a little bit in at least one round, and you better hope it's going to happen here today. Justin Rose, one of my favorite guys that I had pre-flop heading into the tournament. I think he is set for a big day. But Scottie Scheffler, his over-under score today, 70.5, I believe it was at last check. And I'll be looking at going under there. I think Scottie gets the flat stick working. I think the conditions are going to be a little bit tougher here today than they were yesterday. But guys like Tommy Fleetwood and Cameron Young and, yes, even Patrick Reed, all of those guys very much in play here today. But we'll see exactly what we've got coming up there in the Masters. But Scottie, under 70.5, I think. And, by the way, have you looked at what his number is for the tournament here? My goodness. He has gotten, what is he now, 65 to 1? To win it. When's the last time you thought you'd get Scottie Scheffler at any point at 65 to 1 to win a tournament here? He is still plus 325 to finish in the top 5. And if you think he can rally here today, and I think he will with that under 70.5 for a score, I think we've got an opportunity to jump in and cash a couple of tickets here. So the Masters off and running. We'll keep you posted here if anything new comes up throughout. But I believe we got the one and only Mr. Steam himself, Gianni the Greek here, VR in the house. And it has been a hot minute, VR. Pleasure to see you, my man. Always glad to be able to talk with you, even though you're wearing a Dodgers hat, but that's a conversation for another show. Talk to me here, my man. Are you happy that the NBA season is almost over? Because if I watch any more of that crap basketball, I'm going to throw up, Yanni.
Yeah, great to see you, my friend, and hope you're doing well. I agree. I'm glad the season's over. I've had a good NBA season overall, but just not a lot of volume. And because I bet small in relation to bankroll, decent ROI, but I haven't really been able to make good money because I just don't have the confidence to place big bets. That'll change when the playoff comes because you'll know who's playing well ahead of time and you'll know the motivation for each team. And it's hard to quantify that during the regular season. I think that's the biggest problem and why most of my wagers have been on totals. So with that said, I'm I'm excited about the NBA playoffs and kind of just waiting for tomorrow to come to an end. We'll find a couple spots tomorrow because of the must-win situations or teams that may be on that season win total where they'll have to shade towards a bias. We may find a little bit of value. But the truth is, until the playoffs get here, all my attention is elsewhere from the NBA. And you touched on the Masters, and I wanted to say really quick, I have a free play up at WagerTalk. Now, I came on Thursday's WagerTalk today, and I told you I gave out 3 subscriber soccer plays. All 3 were released for free at WagerTalk. I hope you piggyback because those went 3-0. I have a 3rd round matchup up for the Masters. Hasn't gone off. It's a nice plus 160, good all the way down to plus 140. So we have a 3rd round matchup that I sent to subscribers. That's up for free. And also the first NFL draft pick has been released. We fired our first bet. So I'm excited about the draft, but that's a little further down the line. What I have for you today, Joe, I have a lot of hockey. They're really getting involved in hockey today, I guess, without the NBA really to mess with. I got Major League Baseball. And of course, there's the big UFC, not pay-per-view, numbered event going on as well. So definitely still a busy day of sports. And I'm coming off a nice winning day, so I'll take it.
Yeah, what's your gut tell you, though? Does he run away with it here, Rory? Do you think he comes back to the pack here? Because nothing could be worse, I think, than tomorrow, him having a 10-shot lead heading into Sunday. It would be nauseating and awful for a lot of people, and then everyone's playing for second. But what do you think? Do you think he comes back here today?
Here's the thing. It's hard to sustain it when you see like the top 10 guys, no one's even been able to be close to what he shot. Like he shot a 65. And when I look at that, no one else did that. Now, to do that again, I don't think he's going to be able to sustain it. But the problem is he's 6 strokes ahead. Yeah. So I think if he could just, stay within what he's capable of, he doesn't have to go out there and shoot a 66, a 65. If he could just sit around that, 70 below, if he could stay below 70, he should still have a nice lead when the dust settles. I think it's going to be hard to surpass him. I think the one that does have a shot, obviously, is Patrick Reed. He's been the most consistent. Elsewhere, I think there's just too much variance in the scoring. Where I like the consistency of McIlroy, the consistency of Reed, but those other guys, I think they're way far behind. I think everyone else is playing for second place. Even Reed, unless McIlroy really trips up, but I think he's going to have to really have a bad Saturday to put pressure on him Sunday. Yeah,
I agree. I think a lot of the unders and some of the key guys on their scoring round there on round 3 will probably be the guys that have been there are going to make a move. The Tommy Fleetwoods of the world and the Justin Roses, they will make a move today, but it might not matter because Rory could also make a move. And then we're sitting with a 6 or 7 shot lead heading into Sunday. All right, you mentioned the NHL here. Obviously, final week here. Teams trying to make a push before the postseason. A lot of big games here today. So you see an overnight movement. You seeing this morning. What are some of the spots you're looking at and seeing here today?
Yeah, we have a slightly on the overnights with some follow through, but most has come today when the limits were higher. That's why I paid attention and made sure I have a lot to share for that last call. Now, here's what I got. A couple sides for you. 3, Ottawa plus minus 115. Game 5, Washington plus 115. Game 8, LA. Now, LA got bet multiple times from last night. Even money, minus 105, minus 110. So they really like LA. Game 11, the New York Rangers plus 180. And finally, another short favorite that got a lot of follow through, St. Louis. Minus 120, 125, and minus 130. A couple totals for you under 6.5. Tampa Bay, Boston at minus 125. Again, those are the kind that you could still bet. Like if they go under 6 and it's 5.5, then obviously you just ignore that unless you like the over. But when they go like under 6.5, if you still like it and it's 6, it's not as bad. You're not taking too much the worst of it because the worst you can do is push if they cash. Like if they cash an under 6.5, then the worst they could have done is landed on 6 and you push. Otherwise, if they lose, you lose. It's where that half is. Now, the same thing with Florida and Toronto, where they went under 6.5 at plus 110. And I think there's still sixes available. And finally, in Vegas, also under 6.5 at minus 130. So they kind of take out those 6.5s, and then you see whether there's some piggyback on the 6 follow through. But remember, that's not even taking that second number. If you still like it, I've done well doing that, where I try to avoid, again, if they're on that, like under 143 and you have 142.5, that's a different story. That they could push and you lose. You never want to be in that spot if you're piggybacking. So like I said, a lot of NHL, also MLB, but be careful with the MLB because they here's what I've learned so far through 2 weeks plus of the season. We now have a big enough sample size that I'm even using my power ratings, and we're now sitting in the top 3 or 4 in profit. Very confident with the big sample size we'll eventually have in baseball. But I'm seeing overnights get hit a little bit, and then either they're used for manipulation and you see the next day the opposite, or obviously there's follow through. Because again, the limits are smaller earlier in the overnights, and most don't want to tip their card, especially in 2026 when you have so many outlets, especially now with the prediction markets, with the lower VIG, with the no VIGs, with the minus 105s out there. Even sharp bettors now have a lot more access to accounts, to where, again, they could wait and fire. It's not really a race like before. If you could get down on the overnights, even if you could get down a dime, 2 dimes, that's decent. Now it's better off. You're seeing a lot waiting until the day, and that's why you get a lot of big line moves, because the amount of money is a lot more.
2 questions here, Gianni. First one is, though, now that we're coming to the end of the NBA and the NHL, when it comes to playoff betting here, do you see, is it later in the game you're starting to see the big moves later, closer to the puck dropping or to tip off? Are you seeing just as much overnight money come in? Is there more head faking happening? Are they waiting for the public? How does that differ from the regular season when you get into the postseason?
Great question. This is what I see immediately when we get to the playoffs. They'll fire on when the line first opens, when there's a narrative they're getting out ahead of, meaning when there's recency bias and they're looking to get out ahead of the public. That's when I see them fire immediately. And those are the ones I kind of am cautious of, because those are the numbers that they're going to get CLV, and then they have a choice where they could come back on the other side later. Those I'm a little cautious of. I prefer paying attention to the later moves when it comes in the playoffs. Number one, because less are going to be fake. You don't have time to do a lot of maneuvering. But number 2, those are more information based. As the day progresses, a lot of times you have 2 days in between an NHL playoff game, NBA playoff game, and that's more information based. Or when the public risk gets so big that the books are forced to adjust, because that's where they'll usually find value. Otherwise, you don't get a lot of sharp action on the sides and the totals in the playoffs of NHL, NBA. You may get more totals than sides. Otherwise, it's in like team totals, it's in props. Because again, this late in the season, the line should be tight. They should be efficient. And there shouldn't be a ton of value on the board. But we benefit is that there's an influx of casual bettors that love the playoffs, that are betting the playoffs. So that influx of casual money that outweighs sharp money forces books to adjust the lines towards that bias. And that's where you get the sharps come in late and are able to take advantage and get some value on sides and totals where otherwise they wouldn't. When it comes to props, I pay attention immediately, because again, with that market, it's hard to get down. It's hard to get down a lot of money. So there's not really manipulation. You see a beatable number, they bet it. So there I pay attention to the moves. But when it comes to the sides and totals, I like to look at the late stuff more than the early stuff. Again, sometimes you'll miss a number, but there's more than enough opportunities and games that you don't have to take bad numbers. So if you wait and you miss it, it's okay. There'll be another game and a better bet to place.
That's right. Timing is everything, Gianni. That's what it is, man. Timing. You don't want to be too early. You don't want to be too late. So that's why. It helps to have WagerTalk.com and guys like you, so we know when it's happening in real time. Now, you mentioned you got a lot of baseball, but what is the early when you're seeing, because the limits you mentioned, they're not there overnight and early in the morning. Are you seeing more total push or side or the money line push in the mornings here in the overnights in Major League Baseball?
Totals. Because of the key numbers, the key 7, 9, and 11. And you'll notice that those are the totals that get hit first, where they'll take that 9.5 down to 9, the 6.5 up to 7, the 7.5 down to 7. That's what they'll look to get out ahead of, because there's so much value in being on the right side of 7, 9, and 11, kind of like being on the right side of the 3 in NFL. So it's the totals where that happens overnight. With the sides, a lot of times it's used more for scalping, where you could end up, taking team A at plus money, and then the next morning you could get team B at plus money. So regardless who wins, you don't care. You're making 2 cents on every 200 that you're betting. That's half 1% of ROI, whatever. That's great. So that's where with the sides, there's more manipulation, because again, you can scalp easily. And if you could get a penny for free on every 100 you bet, and you're betting thousands and thousands of dollars over and over and over and over again, believe it or not, those pennies add up to a lot of money. So there's a lot more scalping going on with the sides, where with the totals, you can have more confidence, because again, they're betting them based on wanting to get on the right side of those key totals.
Yep. It's and again, still early yet here, but the data keeps coming in, and that'll absolutely change. And that's that prop market as well. Same thing. Very volatile there, Gianni, with those. And you can't get enough down sometimes to make it worth it, but worth keeping an eye on and being cautious, certainly early on. I mean, April and May baseball is not June and July baseball. So the market adjusts, right? And what happens, you think, once the playoffs are finished, once the NHL and the NBA, we've got championships, the public backs away from Major League Baseball? Is it just sharp action in the dog days of summer, or what do you see?
Well, I love the question, because it changed like over the last few years. With the legalization of sports betting everywhere, and now everyone doing it, there hasn't been the drop off that you had back in the day. So I remember there was a time when bookies would shut down. I mean, this is before internet, when you used to have to call the bookie to place a bet. And there were guys back in Philly that they would shut down after the NBA playoffs and come back during the NFL. They didn't even want to book baseball, because it was just them versus the sharps. Most recreational bettors didn't even bet. And then when offshore opened, they kind of kept the books open, because you don't want your competition going elsewhere to place bets and then staying there. And it was kind of like, you talk to bookmakers, even when I moved to Vegas, they hated booking baseball. They hated it because it was them versus the sharps. That's changed now, especially with same game parlays and all the props that are available and all the different platforms for prop betting. So it does drop off a little bit, but not like it used to. So there'll be more lines adjusted just based on sharp money as opposed to public money. Once the playoffs end, I would pay more attention to line moves, because they're you could confirm they're legit. Where, when you have a ton of recreational money too, they're going to force the lines to move as well, where like they're doing now in baseball, where, they're betting the Dodgers every night. They're betting the Yankees every night. They're forcing the books to move those lines. When their volume lessens a little bit, that won't be the case. And if the Dodgers do move, you could be more confident that it's a sharp move on the Dodgers and not the square move on the Dodgers.
Yeah, and it'll change. It'll always be the same, 3 to 6 teams in Major League Baseball that are going to get hammered no matter what. All right, well, we got plenty of baseball getting ready afternoon as well. What are you seeing? What's come across here, Gianni? And don't forget to tell folks also the Steam Room up and available coming your way here today.
Yep, the Steam Room's coming up at noon Eastern. So 40 minutes from now, for my partners that have partnered up with me for 2026, We want to be celebrating on December 31st when it comes around that we're in that 0.5% that actually profited betting sports. We're going to go over Major League Baseball today. We'll go over NFL draft because I released my first pick. We'll talk about how we'll prep for that. NHL will cover, the UFC will cover, and of course, as we prepare for the NBA playoffs and go over results and all that good stuff. And of course, live open Q&A, which is the best part. With that said, I'll give you some baseball real quick. And I mentioned my power ratings. I know they always ask, so here's my top 5. Dodgers, #1 power rated team in Major League Baseball, followed by the Milwaukee Brewers, followed by the New York Yankees, followed by the Atlanta Braves, followed by the Cubs, believe it or not, then the Phillies and Padres. So I went a little more than I should have. But believe those, like teams like the Blue Jays, the Phillies that are below 500, those are legit teams. Even the Red Sox are a top 15 team that are 5 games under 500. Some of the teams that are phony, the Reds, not barely a top 20 team, and they're 2 games over 500. Cardinals, they're a bottom 10 team, and they're 8-5. Look for them to regress. Marlins, 8-6. They're a bottom 5 team. Look for them to regress. And the Angels sitting at 7-7. They're a below 500 team that's getting lucky. Some steam for today. Sides, 906 Milwaukee, -145, -150. 907 Colorado at +155. 917 Miami, +125. 921 Athletics, +145. 911 the White Sox, +165. Few totals real quick. 925 over 8 Cleveland Atlanta. 923 over 7.5 San Francisco Baltimore, and under 9.5, and then under 9 Arizona Philadelphia. A lot more will be coming throughout the day. It's early out here in Vegas, but best of luck to you guys, whether you follow or fade. I got my UFC package up, 5% best bet, 2-4% in there, 3% and more stuff coming. Steam sheet isn't up because I got my subscribers coming into the Steam room. I'm going to give them all the information there. If I could package a couple plays together as a premium package, I'll put that out. Otherwise, we're going to do like we're doing. I think yesterday hit like 7 out of 8 bets. But, goes to subscribers who've partnered up. Best of luck to you guys today. And, keep grinding, baby.
Always a pleasure, Gianni. Be well, my man. Cash those tickets. We'll see you again soon here as we got much more to get to. We got plenty of UFC coming up. Kyle Anthony's going to join us a little bit later, too. He'll talk about some of the fights here that he's keyed in on. We got some NHL action coming your way also, which is going to be great because there are a couple of really interesting games on the card here today in the NHL. And want to send a shout out to those guys in the chat room right now. Danzo's in the house. Dave, seeing some old names here, old familiar names. Pleasure to see you guys. David, always a pleasure. All about my Bills. Sorry about that, but always a pleasure to see you guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And hey, if you've got a couple of games here on the NHL card you want to talk about, I can't think of anybody better to break down the NHL for you than one Mr. Andrew McInnis in the house here, ready to go. And, Andrew, I'm done mourning my Florida Panthers. It is what it is. That's fine. We'll get healthy, and then we'll have another conversation next year. But that doesn't change the fact that, God, are the Flyers really going to make the playoffs, Andrew? Like, come on. We have beaten Flyer fans to the ground. I mean, they've always been the laughing stock. And are we really going to see the Sabres and the Flyers in the playoffs this year? Come on.
Yeah, it's crazy because at least with the Sabres, they kind of play exciting hockey, right, Joe? But with the Philadelphia Flyers, they live and die with that defensive brand. They've gotten better offensively over this stretch. But that's the kind of crazy thing is, as someone that follows the game every single living minute of the day, I barely toss on Philadelphia Flyer games on my TV, and I watch every team. But hats off to them. They have become a lot more exciting. And that as an East Coast Canadian, I love Sidney Crosby. And I'll tell you what, that Battle of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh versus Philadelphia, that could be an all-out war in the first round.
It's going to be a lot of fun here. And you've got very important games on the card here today, right? Lightning, Brewers, Senators, Islanders. I mean, we're in the home stretch here. There's only a handful of spots left, right? So, what's the one game that sticks out to you here today, and who do you like, more importantly?
Man, oh man, we could go anywhere here, Joe, but let's start with this one. A lot of people love overs, right? Who doesn't like watching goals? And I'm going to tell you, the first game of the day, so for the people watching live, we'll get to some games afterwards, but bolts and bees here. A lot of these divisional games, I've been enjoying betting unders because of, playoff implications, the seriousness of it. Canadians and Bolts the other day, it was, 2-1 final, right? It was very, very low scoring, tightly checked game. But I have a feeling when you run into a hot goalie and you're not really happy with how you played the game before, you're just going to come in firing. And the Boston Bruins themselves have been a great home team. I think over 1.5 in the first period to get our juices flowing for this entire 15-game hockey slate is the way to go here. I think you're going to get a Kucherov, a Braden Point, a Jake Gensel. These guys motivated after they couldn't get a few past the Montreal Canadiens, and that made me happy. I think over 1.5 is the way to go when it comes to the first game of the day. When it comes to Pittsburgh and Washington, this might be the last time we even see this. I don't think Ovechkin's going to retire, but it's very, very hard not to look towards goals in that one. One thing you worry about when it comes to this one, this is the first game since Pittsburgh clinched the playoffs. Do they have that exhale? Do they have that kind of step back, pedal off the metal? We're going to find out here, but a little bit of money has come in, a little bit on Washington. Ottawa and New York, I wanted to bring this up to you because I know that we used to always joke around before puck time together about the contrarian and that kind of stuff, but also must win does not mean will win, right? And according to moneypuck.com, if New York Islanders win this game against the Ottawa Senators in regulation, they have a 55.9% chance of making the playoffs.
Wow.
If they lose, they go all the way down to a 15% chance. There's a 41%. And, I'm not really a numbers guy here. I'm a hockey diehard situational handicapper. But, I'll tell you what, people love looking at this stuff and saying, wow, they have to win, Joe. They can't lose. They have to win. Well, they sure as hell can still lose.
Yes. Yeah, well, they absolutely can. And we know that. Just because you have to doesn't mean they're going to in any way, shape, or form here. The Prez, because unfortunately you got rid of him on puck time and you handed him to me. So thanks for that, Andrew. But he's high on this Ottawa team. He thinks they might surprise some folks here. It loves the goaltending, thinks that they might be a little overlooked come playoff time here. You think they can pull out an upset or two here in the playoffs?
Yeah, I looked crazy for a little while saying this, but 2 months ago I said there's the most value out of every Canadian team on the Ottawa Senators was kind of how I was describing it. And Joe, the betting markets agree with Prez, so we don't want to stroke his ego any more than he really needs it to be, but he kind of has a point. When you look at the future odds right now in the NHL, there's teams that are higher in the seedings than they are that are much lower on the futures market. So it's kind of like one of those things right now. If they get in, anything could happen. Ottawa Senators right now, I'm looking 14-1. The Pittsburgh Penguins, for example, they're 25-1.
Wow.
So you got a Pittsburgh team that's pretty much sure as hell in the playoffs. And, they are much, much worse odds there. So very, very interesting. I think Ottawa, nobody wants to play Ottawa right now. Like imagine you're the Carolina Hurricanes. You put forward the season you put forward. And then it's like you have one of the hottest teams in 2026 that you might have to play in the playoffs, Joe.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. But you know what? It's good to get some new blood, new names. You know what I mean? It's good. It can't just be the same old here across the board. Let me ask you, I've had this argument in the prediction markets about who's going to be the coach of the year. And it's between Cooper and Lindy Ruff. It seems to be the only two guys that are getting any love here. But how is it not Lindy Ruff? Like, how does he not walk away with the coach of the year? You're not giving it to Cooper again. I mean, Lindy Ruff doesn't have Vasilevsky. He doesn't have Kucherov. Come on. It's got to be him, no?
Yeah, I do side with you on that, Joe. I think I'll tell you the reasoning people will talk about, and it's man hours lost. right? So it's how many injuries they've dealt with. Victor Hedman still out.
Right.
Kucherov missed some time. Point missed some time. Like it is a little bit astonishing how they were able to be top spot in the division for so long with the injuries they had. Let's not forget about Detroit. Detroit was top in the division for so long, and we know what happened to them. But I agree with you. I think it doesn't really make sense what happened with Buffalo. But whatever the hell happened after they fired their general manager, because usually you get that coach's bump, right? You fire your coach. They fired their GM, and then the coach started going crazy. So I'm with you. And you said new blood. And for me, you know, I always love how in hockey, any team can win any given night, but it is nice to have some change. And now the big question is going to be, once the Sabres are in the dance, can they make any moves at the dance? But I agree. I mean, he's done so much. And this is also a discussion I had with someone else maybe like a month or two ago. And I had to be careful the way I use my words, Joe. But I pretty much said, I said, you know, I probably could have won a couple games as a coach behind the bench for the Avalanche this year. I said, you know, I think the water boy of the Avalanche could have a pretty good record. And the guy I was working with at the time, I didn't realize was pretty in tight with Jared Bednar. So I had to be careful. I didn't realize.
All yours.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing is, do you believe the coach of the year should go towards the team with the best record or the best coach?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yep. It's but didn't see that coming. I'm not going to lie. And now all of a sudden you got Buffalo fans. Now all of a sudden the Bills who? But kudos to them because they have been suffering Sabre fans for a very, very long time. Now, listen, there's no reason not to make it a profitable day in the NHL. You have got a great, I believe a great code here that you can share with everybody to hop on board with you here today. What is it and what's going on over at WagerTalk.com with you?
Hey, Joe, look, next Saturday is going to be the first Saturday of the playoffs. All right. This is the last Saturday of the regular season. The NHL didn't give us any games on Friday. They wanted us rested, ready to rock and roll.
Yep.
You know how they like to do it. Promo code, very simple. Last call 15. Last call 15. $15 off my 5% play. 12-2 run. No better time to be on a heater right now than as we approach the postseason. I'm seeing the board well. Love this play quite a bit. It's a money line play. All the data backs it up. All the situations back it up. Last call 15. I'm not giving out any promo codes anywhere else today. When you're on a 12-2 run, you don't really need promo codes, but 12-2 run, last call 15. And you did talk about a couple other games that we could look at. Sure. I'm just going to mention Carolina. One of these teams that benched half their players, they went full NBA mode the other day, Joe, and they still won and put 7 goals up on the board. Woo. I have a feeling tonight could be the night that they end up falling off. So I think Utah could be a look. And Gianni was talking about that Oilers and Kings game. It's very interesting to me because you know how the Oilers go. They could score 5 goals, but they could also give up 7. So if I'm playing that game, I'm actually probably going to do something with the LA Kings, maybe team total or something like that.
Love this. I say we got plenty of. It's almost over. It's not quite there. It's not like what we get in the NBA where trying to decide like who are these people play. It's a G League team. Like what are we? We're laying 26 points. Like you got to be kidding me. Totally different here in the NHL down the stretch. But once again, the playoffs should be fantastic. So. Andrew, always a pleasure, brother. Appreciate the time. Keep crushing it, man. That's a hell of a run you're on. And give them that code one more time that folks can take advantage and hop on board here.
Hey, promo code last call 15. Last call 15. 5% plays. We'll take $15 off that. So last call 15. Thank you so much for having me, Joe. Good to see you. And I got to ask you, man. Obviously, you crushed it during the March Madness on the hardwood and stuff. But are you locked and loaded for baseball today?
I love base. Yeah, you know, baseball is my favorite grind in the world. But yes, we definitely have a whole lot going on here in Major League Baseball. So we're already locked in on 2, and I got 1 more coming as soon as we hop off here, Andrew. So let's cash some tickets, man. Keep rolling, Andrew. Appreciate it all together, my man.
Take care, brother. Take care.
Be good. Yep. Andrew McInnis. Head over to his page over at WagerTalk.com. Florida sports picks in the house. Walking to the beach. Go, baby. Nice to see you. Appreciate you in the chat room. Titan CT. My goodness. Talk about a blast from the past. Always a pleasure to see you there. 805 Noodles, good to see you there. And I believe Kylie in the house, all good to go here. And by the way, I mean, the kind of run, Kylie, that Andrew is on, go over to his page, take advantage of that promo code, and put your own parlay together. That's exactly how I would do it. Now, in addition to the Masters and Major League Baseball and the NHL, and thank God we don't have any disgusting NBA plays here today, though we'll have one more day tomorrow. Let's not forget UFC alive and well, and got a pretty interesting card coming up here tonight. And honestly, guys, nobody better to talk UFC with than our man Kyle Anthony in the house, man. Another hot minute, Kyle, man. Pleasure to see you as always. And UFC, I'm still trying to get used to the whole, Paramount TV thing with it and everything else. But my goodness, man, we got an interesting card here tonight. I thought most of these guys get better parking because they're over 55 years of age here. Like, what is going on with the cards here in the UFC? What's your overall point of view here so far this year?
It's been kind of wild. I got to say, there's been some interesting, they call it the Paramount era, where we're not really seeing, it's the decisions are a little crazy. Some people aren't wrestling. That's something that has kind of pushed to the backside a little bit, where guys who that's their main path and they're not doing it because they, somebody kind of chirping in their ear a little bit to say, we want to see more action. We want to see more of that. People want to see it now. We don't have to pay for pay-per-views anymore. It used to be, and I'd said this in another podcast earlier that I think it was like, if you wanted just to be a fan and watch every pay-per-view and watch every fight night, it was like $1,200 to be a fan. This year, now it's about going to be like $70 or $80 for the year. So it's, Paramount is kind of going to pull in a lot new eyeballs, new faces. So that's going to help. But it's definitely been interesting overall. And this is an absolutely stacked card. This is just a really stacked card here.
Yeah. So let's start with one fight here that you circled for us that you like. And it's here in my neck of the woods too, I believe, right in Miami?
Yep. So the first one here that we're talking about here is Azamat Murzakanov. He is minus 245 in the comeback here. We've got Paulo Costa. He's around that plus 200 mark. Now, you've got Murzakanov here, who is 16-0, 12 knockouts, has been dominating, 6-0 in the UFC. He looks the part. He's got that shiny record everyone likes to see. They start gravitating towards that when they start placing their wagers. And, he's looked the part. He's aggressive, knocks guys out, does all of those things. But the issue here is that sometimes he can do some things that maybe aren't as optimal. But you look at Costa, and the reason why I think this line is kind of widening is because Costa's 2-4 out of his last 6. He hasn't looked good in certain spots, but really when you look at Costa, he's fought elite level guys. 7 of the fighters that 5 of the 7 fighters that he has fought were former champions. He's fought of the elite of the elite of the elite. And yeah, he's going to have mixed results overall. But now this is the spot where his most recent fight against Roman Kapilov, he went out there, he dominated, he got a win, probably the best that he has looked overall. And that's what you like to see kind of coming into this fight, especially as a dog. But the 2 big red flags on the Murzakanov side, first being the fact that he is just very low volume. I mean, for a guy who's minus 245, very low volume guy, he is only going to look for the big knockout. That's what he does. And again, he has found it against lower level opposition. He's been able to land that big shot. Now, I did cash on Murzakanov against Alex Rakic, which was, Rakic, chinny guy, not very, pretty good, but chinny guy. We cashed there. Now, if you go back and look at that fight was 3 minutes and 11 seconds into that first round. Murzakanov landed 3 significant strikes up to that point. Now, it was nice. The third one put out Rakic, but that's the issue with Murzakanov, is that he just doesn't put the volume out. And that's going to be a spot where Costa, he's a volume guy. He's aggressive. He's going to come forward. He's been there with the best of the best. And Costa's only been knocked out 1 time in his professional career, and that was against the prime Israel Adesanya way back when. So he's always been able to weather those storms. So this is a step up for Murzakanov. I would say a step down for Costa overall. And the other issue here is that, Murzakanov has issues with cardio. He's not optimal with his gas tank. He's not economical. He's just going to go guns blazing 100%. If he doesn't find that first round knockout, things could really fall off the cliff here for him. And that's where I think someone like Costa could really find success here. And you're talking about a plus 200 number here. I look at this spot and I say, this is, maybe Mirzakhanov minus 120, minus 125. I would put him at that range. This is, again, a big step up for him. You've got the youth actually on the side of Costa, 34 to 37. I like his aggressiveness. I like his pace. So you're giving me plus 200 on Costa. I like that spot here. And I actually think that there is a possibility for a third round knockout for Costa, but a Costa knockout is around that 450 mark at this point right now. So there's value on him. And I think the parlay money is coming in on Mirzakhanov right now.
So is Costa moving up in weight?
Yeah.
He's moving up. So is he the bigger guy here? He seems like he's still the bigger guy, no?
Yeah, and that's a great point, because that's actually, even in the face-off, I mean, Costa looks massive, and that was kind of the thing where, hey, how is he going to look? That's always a gray area. They're moving weight classes. You're not really sure how they're going to replenish, rehydrate, all of those things. And I agree with you. I think that he's going to be the bigger guy. He looks to be the bigger guy. I think he's going to have the physicality, the strength advantage. Mirzakhanov, again, this isn't a bodybuilding contest, but Mirzakhanov is definitely not a guy that, looks the part. He does have the power. He packs the punch. But again, Costa's going to be the big guy. He could big brother him and kind of bully him a little bit. So the price is there. I think the value is there.
So, and I don't think we get a lot of fights to the card here, especially in this one, right? This one's not going to decision, correct?
Yeah, I agree. There's I would say a lot of these. This is going to be, I think, inside the distance, all over the place on this card. I think, again, that the matchmaking and the Paramount era, I think you're going to see a lot of that and get a lot of hype going on around this card.
All right, Kevin Holland, my favorite. Taking on Randy Brown. I mean, the over-under or the amount of shit talking he is going to do in this fight here. I'm trying to figure a prop on that, Kyle, but what is up with it? Didn't we just see him fight again? Like, Holland to me is just the ultimate, like, go ahead, throw him in the ring, doesn't matter who he's going with. And it's actually a pick-em price, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Holland. You just don't know what version you're getting of him. You just don't know. I mean, sometimes he's, you hear him in interviews, he's excited. He sounds like he's going to be, very aggressive and just really fight to an optimal game plan. And a lot of times he's joking. He's laughing it off in the cage. Even when he gets hit, even when he loses, sometimes it just doesn't seem like he even cares. So that's what's kind of hard to get behind Holland here. I think Holland has advantages here in this fight, but I actually do lean with Brown in this spot here. I think that he's a guy that at least is going to fight to a game plan. He's a guy that's really looking to continue to move up the ranks. Holland, again, is also talked about he wants weaker opponents. He does not want to fight for the title. Like, this is a guy openly saying that, and Brown's more focused. I think the line kind of is right at this point here. This is a coin flip here, fight here. But if I had to go on a side here, I would go Randy Brown.
So it's funny, we got a couple of guys moving up, right? Luque is moving up, isn't he, now in his fight against Gas? You can move up, you're still going to be twice the size as Gastelum. So it really doesn't make a damn bit of difference, right? Here. But, right. They're not even giving him a chance here in this fight. This price is crazy. What are you thinking?
This is another one where I think this could be a parlay buster. I do lean towards, if I had to pick guns to my head, I lean Gastelum. There's a lot of issues with Luque. He had the brain bleeding, a couple of years ago. It seemed like he was kind of out of it. It seemed like he was done with his career. Then he came back. He snuck in a victory. So he has done a couple things where it's kind of looked good for him. But Gastelum actually made weight. So that's kind of a very bullish sign for him, at least. Normally he's over by 8 pounds. So I lean him here. I do think that a sneaky play on this fight, I think, would be Luque by submission. I think if he does get him down, Luque is very opportunistic with the submission game. He's aggressive with it. And if there's some kind of scramble, there is absolutely no doubt Luque is going to shoot for that. He's going to look for those submissions. So I lean that way. It's a very juicy number. But again, to me, it's a little bit of a stay away at this point.
All right, so this is something, Kyle, a long time we've done these shows, man. And one thing that you have always been is, listen, if a guy is set to retire and walking into his last fight, he retired 3 fights ago. Understand, that's always been your rule of thumb. I can't even believe Cub Swanson is still willing to jump into the ring, but once a brawler, always a brawler here. But it's not priced like just lay the gloves down and walk away. What's up with this fight?
Yeah, this is one here where Cub even kind of said, hey, I'm I'm kind of, a fight before this. Hey, I'm kind of done. He was still under contract, but it seemed like, hey, he opened a gym. He's got things going on outside UFC, and they kind of pulled him back, and UFC really wanted him to come back. Now he's going to make 400,000 for this fight, 350. He's at that higher level. Even in fact, he's never been a champion. All those things. But this is a spot here where I think it's going to be kind of a car crash. I think they're both going to go for it. I don't think Cub is going to point fight here. Nate Landwehr doesn't know how to point fight, so he just comes forward. He throws. So inside the distance there is around minus 130. I think that's a pretty sharp number there where I think you could really go in there. They're both going to be throwing. They're both going to be aggressive. Nate and they both have said it. Hey, we're going to put on a show here. They're opening up the main card. I think that's on purpose as well. So I kind of lean towards Nate to get the victory here, but I think that violence is the spot on this one.
What's the card look like for you up at WagerTalk.com? What do you got? What do you got rolling for the folks?
Yeah, so I do have very rarely do I release 2 5% plays on one card. Now, over the last 7.5 years, I've done that twice. Both times we've cashed both 5% plays. So I love this card from a betting perspective. Both these spots, I think, are very, very, lot of value there. And again, if you want it, check it out. I've got 2 very long write-ups for each of those plays. You can kind of dive into my thought process, what I think about it. And we have that, and also do have 2 other plays. So I've got 4 plays in total. Might be adding a 5th play, but it's a very big slate for me. So check it out on WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, guys, he doesn't throw a lot of 5%ers up. So if he's got 2 on the same card, I would suggest you head over to his page at WagerTalk.com. Always a pleasure to see you, brother, man. Looking good as always. Enjoy it. Keep crushing it, man. We'll see you again soon.
All right, Joe. Take care, man.
You got it, man. Kyle Anthony, UFC, guys. Go over and grab both of those 5% plays now on his page at WagerTalk.com. Florida Sports Picks in the chat room wants me to go down to the UFC fight tonight. But he also wants me to go get a free lunch at Cheetah's. So I doubt very much if I'm getting the lunch at Cheetah's, I'm ever making it down to Miami to actually go to this UFC card here tonight. But I appreciate the thought. And yes, La Spada's the best, and I mean the best subs in all of Florida. That is for sure there. Big shout out again to you guys hanging out with us. David, appreciate you stopping by. AOD in the house. Pleasure to see you. And once again, right on cue, man. Pistons in 5. Yes, the Pistons, hell of a beatdown of the Charlotte Hornets last night. I was wrong. I thought the Hornets would come back. Game meant a little bit more to the Hornets than it did for Detroit. But Detroit played everybody, and the Hornets couldn't get out of their own way. So kudos to them for getting it done. And now Florida Sports Pick says I was his manager 27 years. I don't even want to know what the hell that is. I don't even want to know what that means, Florida Sports Picks. But hit me up, man. You know where to find me. Hit me up on X or Insta, one of those, and tell me exactly how I was your manager 27 years ago. I'd like to hear that one. But no more NBA here today, guys. We've got plenty, and I mean plenty, of action coming up here in Major League Baseball. The one game that I had circled here because I've watched them pitch now the last 2 times is the Twins and Joe Ryan. I don't know what's going on with Joe Ryan right now. I don't like to think he's hurt, but it doesn't feel like, and again, it's cold and it's early on in the season here right now, but doesn't seem like he's got that same kind of oomph behind the ball as he has had in a couple of years past. It was a rough outing for him last time here. He's taking on now a Blue Jays team that finally decided to get out of their own way there last night. The Rogers Center certainly now favors guys that can hit the ball and put it in the air. So Lauer got shelled. I don't even think he lasted 2 innings in his last outing there, but he was coming, I believe he was sick, and he was coming off of that. But again, the bullpen is rested for Toronto. I like Toronto at that price, and I don't think things are going well with Joe Ryan right now. But you can also head over to my page at WagerTalk.com. Check it out. We are locked and loaded. We have a Major League Baseball package up and available for you up on board there. And get ready because the NBA playoffs will be here before you know it. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button once again, guys, on the way out. We certainly appreciate you hanging with us here on this Saturday as we get ready for the Masters and UFC and Major League Baseball. Get ready for the playoffs, though. They'll be here before you know it. On behalf of Andrew there, Kyle, Gianni the Greek, get ready for the steam room. Andy Lang will be back in this chair again next week. Guys, best of luck with the plays here. Always a pleasure to see you. We'll do it again sometime here for Wager Talk. Last call. Happy Saturday, guys.